Alright, so today I'm going to try something a little bit different. Uh, Instead of reviewing a figure, I want to try and just review an entire toy line up until the current point of their releases. So for this first one, I'm going to be doing the Transformers Reveal the Shield line, and I will be talking about all the figures, the deluxe class figures, released up until I guess February 2011. And the first thing you'll notice is that I do not have the fallback or the mindset figure, because those two to me sort of looked like movie figures, and movie figures are okay, but I'm more of a classics collector, and I didn't really like those two at all. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, they're just these ones, fallback and mindset. So the repaint of Hailstorm, and I don't even know what fallback is, but there you go. Alright, so where do I start? I guess Reveal the Shield, the concept behind it was to release a bunch of Transformers who, on the packaging, they wouldn't put if they were Autobots or Decepticons, and on the figures they would bring back the old rub sign insignias from the G1 days, and then remove any other sort of faction symbols on all the figures. So the only faction you actually have left is that shield. The funny thing is, though, with all the current, I guess, figures they release, at least in the deluxe range, the majority of them are all Autobots. If you look at the ones here in front of me, there's only one Decepticon, and that's Cyclonus right here. It's the only one with the Decepticon symbol, and it's kind of stupid that they went with this entire idea of trying to bring in mystery robots when, you know, almost the majority of the time you're going to pick up an Autobot. Even when it comes to the Voyager class figures, most of them, again, are still Autobots. The only Decepticon that I know of is Lugnut, and I haven't done a review of him yet, but I will eventually. But again, this is just the deluxe class figures, and yeah, so I mean, to start, first of all, is this a good, does this line include good figures? And they do have some good figures in this line, but for the most part, I don't think a lot of these will stand out for me as real good collection pieces. And to tell you the truth, I feel like the Reveal the Shield line is sort of the Hasbro's dumbed down, cheaper toy line in comparison with the other current one out, the Generations line. You know, for just a quick example, I mean, if you look at this Prime figure here, you'll notice he doesn't have a lot of details in him. He's got some paint apps like these flame decos, but I mean, to the extent he doesn't really have much. Also, this Rodimus figure, he's a re-release of a classic Rodimus, but he has been, known as the cheapened version. They say he's more screen accurate, but he's come away with a lot less actual paint apps. A very cheap version. In some cases, however, it's turned out to be pretty good, because I mean, in comparison with the original Cyclonus, this one looks a lot more screen accurate, but that's all in part because the original Cyclonus was just purple, and so he kind of benefited from it. But overall, again, some could mistake him for a very poorly painted figure. They do have some figures though, like this Perceptor with the chrome here and the two-tone color scheme, but again, not quite to a great level of paint. In terms of figure design, yes, this line has some really remarkable figures. One of them is right here, the Reveal the Shield Trax, and he is by far, quite possibly, for a lot of people, the best in line in terms of alt mode and robot mode and transformation. However, his paint, again, for some reason, when I look at the Reveal the Shield line, they look like just slabs of paint posted on a figure. You got a lot of just, he's all blue, and it's not as bad as Optimus here, as he just got like, square overlays of just different colors, but again, it really, at first you don't really notice it, but if you've seen the pictures for the upcoming repaint of this figure, the Wheeljack, you'll already see that the Generations Wheeljack looks a lot more thought out in terms of paint design and paint scheme. And that kind of makes this Trax figure look rather subtle or just cheap looking. In fact, the Transformers United version of Trax looks a whole ton better, and all they did was add a more metallic look to him. But yeah. And then for the eagle-eyed viewer out there, you'll notice I also have this one out here. And personally, he is my favorite of the line, and this is the Special Ops Jazz. And if you've seen anything about this figure, you'll know this figure has a ton of paint problems, specifically in his car mode, where the entire back section of his car doesn't have any paint whatsoever. And his wheels have not been painted at all, although I will say I do like the black. And just as a little tangent and side note, you're probably wondering where is the review for this figure, and I actually do have his Transformers United counterpart on the way in the mail right now, and I'm waiting for that one to come in before I do a review of this figure, because I feel like it deserves that review instead, because in truth, while this is my favorite character and figure of the line, he's probably one of the worst painted figures. But that's that. So overall, is this a good line? And in truth, if I had to rate it, I'd give it maybe, a direct 5 out of 10. You've got some really good figures, such as the Jazz and the Trax, but their paint scheme is seeming to let them down. When it comes to, some might say, Cyclonus is good. And yes, Cyclonus is a very good figure, but he's just a re-release. He's not a new figure, and for that reason alone, I can't really count him as something great. Same goes for Rodimus. I mean, I have proclaimed that I love this figure, but again, he's a re-release of a figure that's already been painted a lot nicer. When it comes to figures like this Optimus, you wonder to yourself, well, who's this directed towards? Because, like I've said, hardcore collectors who like the G2 Prime already have a G2 Prime, and kids today, if they see something like this, they might as well just go with the movie toy. And same thing goes for this Bumblebee. I mean, I really like the Bumblebee, but again, he's not really too amazing as a figure, and when you're looking at him, again, as a hardcore collector, you already have that figure. And chances are you have him in more accurate cartoon colors, and kids today who see Bumblebee, they don't want that Bumblebee, they want this one instead, the Camaro. So it doesn't really matter. Perceptor, again, he does suffer from the case of, in packaging, he comes as his geological truck, and to tell you the truth, it's not a fantastic looking truck. I think it's a cool concept, but general demographic, no, it's not really going to sell. And the fact that he doesn't come with a weapon is another turnoff. I mean, that's probably the reason why they added chrome to him, because they needed some other way to give him some sort of flair or edge, or something more appealing. But overall, he looks like a very sedate figure. Wreck-Gar is probably, like I said, the best of the Wave 2 releases, but again, when you're looking at a bike, do you really want a brown dirt bike, or do you want a sleek-looking motorcycle from, again, the movie line? And that's sort of the problem. And now I know I've said I love the Trax and Jazz, but their definitive versions are in the Transformers United line. And because of that sort of weighs down how I feel about the Reveal the Shield line. So, I mean, overall, I will say that the Reveal the Shield line in itself is sort of like Hasbro's cheap and cheerful line of toys. They're all very well priced, but it does show through in the terms of their visual design. Like I said, some figures are better relived in another line, such as the Transformers United, or some of the figures have already been released in a lot better color schemes. But overall, I will say that the Reveal the Shield line is almost a complete pass, to tell you the truth. I mean, as a big collector, the only ones I can truly recommend to you are Jazz and Trax, and even then, I'll just say to you, no, forget them, get the United ones instead. But yeah, I know like not all the figures have been released, and from what I've seen and toyed around with the Voyager Lugnut toy, I don't actually own it, but I have played with it a bit. it seems like a step up in the right direction, but that figure has some problems of itself, and for the ones that I currently have in front of me, I'm gonna, you know, they don't really spark my interest anymore. To me, it's sort of a failed toy line. But that's just what I have to say about this line. You know what, give me feedback. If you don't like this review of a toy line thing, tell me about it, because I'd love to hear your opinions on it. I just thought it'd be something different and something that was just in my mind. I figured I should film this, put it out there, see what others have to say. But yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.